Welcome to the Salt Lake Fitness Podcast, Salt Lake Pod for short. I'm Nat.
And I'm Christy. And this is your space for salty stories, sweaty workouts, and improving crew sanity at sea.
Hi guys, and welcome to episode 2 of Salt Lake Pod. I'm Nat.
And I'm Christy.
And today we're going to be talking about Christy and her experience in yachting, how she got into yachting, and her background in fitness. So, Christy, to start off with today's first question is, what is your background in yachting and how did you come into this weird and wild industry that we're in at the moment?
I had an interesting kind of journey into yachting. I grew up on a sailing boat. My dad lived on a boat, and then I ended up working on cruise ships. So I always kind of had the ocean in and around my life. I didn't even know the yachting industry existed. However, when I was working on cruise ships, we all had our STCW done on board. At that time, I didn't realize that that's something that you needed for the yachting industry. Eventually, I ended up working on sailing boats because my dad lived on a sailing boat. It's just something my family loved doing. And I ended up meeting people, good friends of mine that were in the yachting industry. I was also a hairdresser, and one of them said to me, the yachting industry loves people with like dual skills. You know, if you're a beautician or a masseuse or a hairdresser or a carpenter, they love people like this. And I guess I was at a stage in my life where I wasn't really sure what to do next. I'd gone through a breakup at the time, and it all just kind of aligned. And I applied for a few jobs on YachtSpot, and luckily this big, beautiful vessel needed a hairdresser. And I remember interviewing at the time, and the friend that sort of suggested I try the yachting industry, we were sitting on his sailboat, and I was having my interview, looking at the screen, and he was sitting behind the computer, kind of cueing me like, stay calm, everything's cool. He even had little like flashcards. So embarrassing looking back now, but I was so nervous and I wanted this job so badly. Anyway, luckily I got it and got flown from Australia all the way over to Europe to join my first vessel, which happened to be Flying Fox.
No ways.
Yeah.
No ways. You joined one of the biggest vessels in the industry as your first vessel.
Yeah, and I had no idea that, this vessel had a reputation. I had nothing to compare it to. I hadn't been in the yachting industry before. And I remember telling, certain people that maybe knew more about yachting than me. And the reactions were just profound. They were saying the same thing. Wow, like you're joining Flying Fox. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, is that a good one? And that was back in 2019. So that's when Flying Fox, they just launched. They were about to take on their first big charter season. And I stayed on board for 5 years. I was with Fox. Yeah. So I got to experience some of the best times that vessel had. And I joined as a hairdresser stewardess. So that's how I entered the yachting industry.
That's really cool, actually. So just going back to the cruise ship. So if I'm comparing Flying Fox to a cruise ship, because cruise ships, they have what, like 5,000, 2,000, I don't know, how many crew members?
Yeah, they're massive. And I was with a big company. I was working for Norwegian Cruise Lines, and I was a professional performer. So I was a dancer. I was performing in their shows. My sister and I grew up dancing. That's kind of where my fitness background was born, I suppose. But it was a very, very different world working on the cruise ships. I loved it. I had so much fun. I was 19, just living my best life. But it's 9-month contracts.
Excuse my jaw drop, but 9-month contracts. So you're on board for 9 months all in one.
Yeah, and I shouldn't complain. There's yachties out there that are full time, right, on vessels that get 30 or 60 days leave a year. So I suppose it's similar. But I certainly couldn't do that now in my old age.
What? You're not old. No way. You're young and glowing. Age is just a number anyway. You're
Agreed.
not. But okay, so going from the cruise ship experience and walking onto Flying Fox, what was that experience like? Did you know anyone on board before you arrived at this vessel? Or was it like I'm walking on and you're like almost astonished by what you're seeing?
I knew absolutely no one on board. I barely knew anyone in the yachting industry. So I had
Uh-huh.
no one to, I had that one friend, that first got me into it to ask questions to, but I knew no one on board and I was terrified. I had no idea what to expect. I remember driving up to the vessel for the first time in the tender because this boat is 136 meters, right? So it doesn't fit into many ports. So they were under anchor. I got picked up by these gorgeous men in this gorgeous tender and got driven over to the vessel, which to me looked like a wall, and yeah, it was just absolutely incredible. Very, very overwhelming, obviously,
Yeah, I can imagine.
and a lot to learn. But yeah, I ended up having the time of my life.
Okay, so you joined the yachting industry in 2019, but being at sea is no secret to you. As you said, you grew up on these sailing vessels. Your dad had a sailing vessel, which I think is such a cool background. What an amazing way to grow up. So you've always been at sea. You then joined this cruise ship. You've started now in the yachting industry. You've been 5 years on one vessel. It's a very good longevity, which is amazing. I mean, a lot of people don't really stay at a place unless it's very, very good. So I assume you had a great time on Flying Fox. But after 2019, you what happened to your yachting career then? How did it evolve? What did you do?
So I did well during my time on Flying Fox. My career, I suppose, evolved. I started, as I said, as a stewardess housekeeper, and
Yeah.
then very quickly jumped up to a lead house role, and
Oh,
then took a sabbatical as a head of house on Motor Yacht Renaissance,
yeah.
just helping them out with their launch in their very, very, very early phases. Then went back to Flying Fox in the head of house role before eventually moving on to my second, I suppose, second or third vessel, depending what way you look at it, as head of house, which is also a very, very big, new, beautiful vessel in the industry. And since then, now what are we, 2026? I've just taken my first kind of prolonged sabbatical time off, time away from the industry, and I'm about to go and join my brand new vessel, which is Rev Ocean. So that's going to be a new, exciting venture for me, and yeah, we'll see what happens now. But I think I'm definitely committed to the yachting industry. I love it, and I'll probably be in it for quite a while longer.
Okay.
But you know, the world is our oyster, right?
It really is. So that's quite exciting that you've grown insanely quickly from that to a head housekeeper, not on just any vessel, but on one of the biggest vessels in the industry. Then from that to another huge vessel as head of housekeeper, which is absolutely insane. And if you had any advice going onto your yachting industry to any stewardesses joining, when it comes to you, you have this precious information because you've grown and evolved in your career. So what would you say to these young women or these women coming into the industry?
I just think you need to go for it. You know what I mean? Like believe in yourself. And even if you don't think you're quite ready, my dad always said to me, like, jump in the deep end and then just swim as fast as you can. Like you'll figure it out. Like because I think often in yachting, people hold themselves back, or if they don't have the right support around them, they might not feel like they can step up into that role. But you absolutely can. You've got to give it a shot. If it doesn't work for you, sweet, you've had great experience and you try somewhere else. But I was very fortunate on Flying Fox, especially to have incredible mentors, incredible support, people that wanted to uplift you and train you and share their knowledge with you. Very similar to, what we spoke about on the last podcast with your experience. And I
Yeah.
think I've never experienced, small vessels within the yachting industry, but I think the big boats, I really have seen a very positive leadership mentality towards helping, supporting, mentoring junior crew, and that was absolutely my experience.
Okay, well, that's actually a very good piece of advice. And I think if you do enter the industry as a stewardess, I think you are very lucky if you are underneath the people that are, like you said, positive and they are helping you and they want you to become better. So I'm really, really glad that you had that experience. And I hope that people that come into the industry and try to follow in your footsteps in the interior side of things, that they can do the same thing. And I'm sure that you can be there to help them. And if they have any questions, they can ask you about these questions. But moving on from your background in yachting, which I think is absolutely incredible. That's so exciting. I mean, cruise ships and coming from that into yachting. How would you say? You told me that you were in the performance background when you first joined Vessels at Sea. How would you say your fitness has encompassed your? How did you grow up with fitness, and how did it come into the yachting industry? Is what I'm trying to say.
I suppose, yeah, I grew up dancing. My sister
Okay.
and I, we were very much girly girls. Uh, so we loved, yeah, performing, being, on a stage with costumes and hair and makeup and lights. And we loved being center of attention. Absolutely. So it was always a dream to take that career professionally, which
Yeah.
we were both lucky enough to do together as well. We're only 2 years apart, my sister and I. So it was an amazing experience, kind of, in experiencing all of that together in our younger years. So yeah, taking dancing professionally onto cruise ships with Norwegian Cruise Lines, and then I guess I was always just around sport. I ended up teaching dance. A lot of people that I were friends with in my late teens or early 20s were all into sports teams, male and female friends. And eventually that led me to go to the gym because everybody else was doing it. So may as well. And I loved it. It was fantastic. I had a partner at the time that was very, very much into like bodybuilding and lifting weights. So it was a great influence on me when I was 17 years old.
Oh wow.
And yeah, I just loved being in the gym atmosphere, such supportive people. I never ever knew that it would kind of go the direction that it's gone now. I never thought that I would be, a trainer at all at the time. And then when I first joined yachting, I, as I said, was lucky enough to be on Flying Fox. So we had the most incredible crew gym that I think I have seen to date in the yachting industry,
Okay.
and an extremely fit crew. So I'm not kidding you when I say this crew is made up of, or was at the time made up of, just some of the fittest, most inspirational people that I knew. The gym was always packed. There was a fantastic morale on board around fitness. And we all did quite a lot together when it came to exercise. So that's how I met Tom. On,
Okay,
on
interesting. Here we go.
yeah.
The love relationship on the yacht.
It ties into the fitness side of things, I promise.
No,
So
it does.
that's where I met Tom. Tom was part of the security team on board Flying Fox, and he was obviously in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
Ended up training quite a lot in the gym, like developed a really solid friendship. And the two of us were kind of leading crew workouts and things like that on board just because we enjoyed it. And then that developed into crew members asking for advice or training with us in the gym, asking for us to create fitness programs for them or like a workout. And so I know this doesn't happen with every vessel, but on the bigger vessels, a lot of crew get a training allowance per year as part of your package.
Okay.
So have you had that on
Yeah,
another
in
vessel?
terms of so a lot of vessels that I've worked on, I've also been lucky enough to have that training package. It can be for
Yes,
courses, it can be for things to better yourself that's going to also benefit the vessel at the same time.
exactly. So, and I endorse this. I think every yacht should have training packages for crew. It's incredible.
Okay.
And one of the first courses I remember doing was my fitness level 2 course.
Oh wow.
There was about 8 of us, I think, on Flying Fox that sat this course. The trainer came on board. We all got put through the course together. It was like a full week to be certified. It was fantastic. And then they did that because they wanted crew members to be able to train guests. We had charter guests all the time, and once we became qualified, Tom and I were the 2 crew members that the vessel lent on a lot to provide workouts for our charter guests. And we got to train some of the most incredible people. So yeah, did our first certification on Flying Fox. And then about a year later, we decided to use our next training budget and sit our level 3 course
Yeah.
in London and Thailand on our leave.
Yeah.
half half. And yeah, it just grew and grew from there. We found such a love and a passion for it. We saw such a positive shift in like mentality of the crew, how much they enjoyed it, the morale and camaraderie that it brought between us. And we had some incredible relationships develop in the gym on the boat. Yeah, then we started training with other crews when we're in shipyards and things like that, and it just became our life. Even on our leaves, we were looking for places to go train on our holidays, and that's been mine and Tom's life ever since. 6 years later since we met.
That's a long
Yeah.
time. But it's pretty cool how like you came into this industry, first of all, coming in as the stewardess and with the really awesome background in keeping up with some movement, first of all, that you really enjoy, because dancing is movement and it can become a passion. So it sounds like it's one of your passions. And you took that into your industry and then into the yachting industry as a fit person, going to the gym and experiencing the gym. And then now you're on this vessel with this crew that are motivated to train, which makes all the difference. Because I don't know about you, but when you join a vessel, if you've ever joined a vessel, that some crew members just don't really want to move. They don't really care
Yeah.
about moving.
Yeah.
But you sound like you've had a huge impact on not just yourself and not just Tom, but on the vessel that you joined and you were on for Flying Fox for 5 years. The impact that you've had on not just your own fitness and your own lifestyle, as it's changed now over 6 years, but the impact, what would you say the impact is that you and Tom have had, or just yourself, on the crew members on Flying Fox and the crew members around Flying Fox at the dock or at anchor?
I hope we were a positive, hope we were a positive influence. But I think it's props to the vessel and the crew, our kind of our group at the time, because it is the reason I stayed for so long, and the reason that so many of us stayed for so long at that time was, I think, had a lot to do with that environment that we all created
Yeah.
together. And I think if we didn't have that environment, I certainly wouldn't have stayed for so long. I remember the first year in yachting, and there was tears, there was moments of, regret. I was working as a deckhand on sailing vessels just before I came, and I was very similar to you, loved being outside. I'm a scuba diver, a free diver. I love wakeboarding and surfing, and I was sort of shocked, and now I'm a cleaner, you know,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people go through that feeling, especially stewardesses, being stuck inside all of the time. It's
Yeah.
certainly not what it looks like from the outside, as you're aware.
Yeah.
And I quickly changed my perspective to think, okay, why am I in this industry? What can I do to better myself and kind of advance as quickly as I could?
Yeah.
And I used the gym. I used that training allowance. I used like the quickest way to getting full rotation, because what other industry is going to give you 6 months a year off paid?
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm like, okay, this is how I'm setting myself up for my future. This industry, and that sort of helped me stay on the interior for a lot longer, because it is tough.
It helps you with your mental grind, but that's amazing. So your mental state when it comes to yachting, in the beginning, like you said, there was tears, there was hardship, it was not as enjoyable as you thought it was going to be. Not that you haven't enjoyed the process, but it's quite daunting. I think that first year, you away from family, away from your friends, away from birthdays, celebrations, things that are happening when you're in this industry. How would you say you motivated yourself? Was it the impact of knowing that if you had to progress in your career, you get that time off and you can finally do the things you wanted to do? And how would you say that movement and fitness is something, how would you say that has affected your mental health and keeping you motivated to stay on and grow as you have?
I think I very quickly learned that this is going to be majority of my life. I was on a 3-1 rotation, which is incredible when you first join yachting. However, that's 9 months of your year that you're on this vessel, right?
Yeah.
So I realized this is my lifestyle. I need to make it an enjoyable place to be. And it really was. There was times I looked forward to going back to work, to see the
Yeah.
people I was spending time with, to get back into my routine. I almost used it as like a bit of a boot camp.
Yeah.
I was on board. And we have a lot of clients that do the same now. So fitness definitely helped me through those tough times in the beginning. And the people I surrounded myself with, obviously I was very lucky to have Tom
Yeah.
and meet someone like that on my first vessel. But, even without Tom, I had the most incredible friendships that they, like, it's such close quarters. They become like your sisters or your brothers. You really do become a family. And I understand not every vessel is like this, but there are a lot of vessels out there that have this amazing team bonding family experience. And
Yeah.
I just loved being a part of that. I still love being a part of that.
Well, that's incredible, and I'm so glad that you had this experience because it does show people out there that yes, yachting, the industry is difficult and it can be mentally fatiguing and overwhelming. But as you said, there are vessels out there with crews and people like yourself, positive and highly motivated, that can impact your mental health and the people that are going through these tough and difficult times, where you use exercise and fitness and the morale of the crew around you to uplift your spirits and motivate you to feel better. Because like you said, this is your lifestyle, this is where you're living, this is, you're in close quarters, you live, eat, sleep, shit
Yeah. Yeah.
around these people 24/7, so you better get used to
Exactly.
it. But it's like you said, if you have those amazing people around you that are there to support and uplift you, that
Mhm.
just makes a whole world of a difference when it comes to yachting.
Yeah, and if
So
you don't have those people, be that person. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, be that person that has the energy. And yeah, and if you really are on a vessel that doesn't provide you that, there are other vessels out there that you'll stick on for years because they're just amazing. And I
100%.
feel very fortunate that I had such positive experiences within my career so far.
Well, I'm really glad that this has happened because if it hadn't happened, you wouldn't have been on, Flying Fox for so long. You wouldn't have met Tom. You wouldn't have come to your fitness where you are now. I want to know a bit more about, I'm sure the listeners do as well, how Salt Lake Fitness started from you and Tom. Tell us a bit more about that because that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to like look back on. But obviously it was born and raised on Flying Fox. Once we completed our certifications and we were training crew members, we were really enjoying building programs. So, whether it was someone training for a specific event or if they were trying to train around maybe an injury or something that was holding them back, we found it really interesting to come up with all of these new ideas and movement patterns and programs. And we we are both very motivated people. We're both very passionate about fitness. So it's something that we enjoyed. This sounds so lame when I say it out loud, but we we enjoyed sitting in our cabin and like researching on YouTube, like different movements and following and listening to podcasts, anything that surrounded fitness.
Yeah.
We were into it. And this is what we loved to do in our spare time, in our lunch breaks, in our breaks on a charter. I was straight on my laptop, like programming for crew members or building things. And in the beginning, we were just building things on like Excel spreadsheets. And I would print them off and give it to whoever it was I was trying to help. And yeah, I guess there was one crew member that Tom and I both say motivated us to really make Salt Lick the name, a brand, and really kind of bring it to life. And his name is Dean. Dean Trollope. He was one of the deckhands on Flying Fox,
Yeah.
the most beautiful South African boy you've ever met. He was our main driver and our main motivation at the time. He said, "You guys need to do something with this. You need other crews will love this. They need help too."
Yeah.
And he helped us come up with a name and just everything. And yeah, we really have him to thank. He unfortunately passed.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm
Yeah.
really
But
quite sad.
yeah, but still to date, just an angel on earth in human form.
Oh, I just
And
got goosebumps. That like so it's full goosebumps. That's like Salt Lake Fitness is raised off of someone
yeah,
so
incredible. And I
amazing.
really think he ever since has watched over everything we've done, and
Stop.
just is like a really strong push behind a lot of the things we do. Tom still wears a hoodie that Dean gave him to say thank you for like making a workout for him in our very early days. And anyone that's listening to this that knows this person that I'm talking about would feel the same way. He's just the best. So he really helped us start the business. And when you're on these big vessels, as you know, you're surrounded by just such talented people. So we
Yeah.
had two amazing men that were photographer and videographer on board. Ian and Adam, shout out to Ian and Adam, who filmed all of our content in the early days. So they're the reason behind why the Instagram was so well received by the industry. And yeah, they just made what we did look so cool.
Yeah, well, it still looks cool. Some of the videos are insane. Like they're really cool, and the photographs that you have are
I
very
mean,
professional.
the experiences were amazing. We had heli deck workouts on the biggest charter yacht in the world with a live DJ, you know, playing the workout playlist with drones, and it was seriously like pinch me moments. I said, how on earth have, you know, Tom and I gotten to this position?
I just got goosebumps again, but that just shows you
Yeah.
and to the people that are listening the impact of what Salt Lake Fitness was and it still is, and how it came from passion and the love for movement.
Honestly, it really did. Like it's still today has never been financially driven. We love helping crew members and we love fitness. We still, you know, meeting other crew around the world and going for a run with them or training with them. And I know you share the love as well. You feel exactly the same way as we do. Hence
Yeah.
why we've made such a great connection. But it really has honestly just organically grown and grown and grown. We got some amazing opportunities through Salt Lake, you know, once we established a business and a name and, you know, a brand. We ended up working with Ed Thomas from Jim Marine, which
Oh,
just was an amazing experience for us. We brought out the crew bench, which
that's a very cool bench, by the way.
yeah, which took off. There's a few vessels in the industry, if you're lucky enough to work on them, that have the Salt Lake Crew bench on board. We launched the Salt Lake Crew container, which is in Diana Shipyard in Miami. So if anyone's ever in Miami, go train at the Salt Lake container. It's very cool.
Very
Uh,
cool. I wish I could
very
go, by the way. I can't wait to go one day. Well, that's really quite a moving story. I got goosebumps from the beginning. So what an incredible impact that it's had on not just you, Tom, Dean, and all these other people surrounding Salt Lake Fitness. And I'm so glad it's in the world and it's out there. And at the moment, it's impacting so many people. It impacted me from the get-go as just a person coming on to train to moving on up with you guys, because as you said, we share the same views and passion on fitness and Salt Lake Fitness as a brand itself. It's about people and about sanity and becoming the best version of you that you can be and mentally coping with our lives, not just in
yeah,
the yachting industry, but in life in general. So it's an absolutely incredible feat of what you, Tom, and the people around it have built and have become. So that's really incredible, Christy. So
thank you. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm thankful for Salt Lake for bringing us is we were never limited to the vessel anymore. We got to connect with yachties from all sorts of vessels all over the world, you know, and that's been our main motivator. Just, you know, connecting and meeting with other crew that are like-minded. It's been
or just
amazing.
helping people. Some
Yeah.
people are stuck in a little hole where they don't know what they need and they find Salt
Yeah,
Lake Fitness and it just brings them out and flourishes them. So I hope that
absolutely.
it can have more of an impact than what it is already. It's going to absolutely grow, and I'm so glad this is finally out there and happening.
Yeah,
So
me too.
moving on from how this has happened and your background and your fitness background and how Salt Lake Fitness came into your yachting industry and your life, I want to understand some challenges and lessons that you might have had within the yachting industry that you can share with the listeners today, and how you accomplished to overcome these hardships.
Yeah, I mean, we're all going to face many challenges, especially in the industry. I think a lot of people that are in yachting will understand the challenges, especially around your health, your fitness, and your mental state when you're on board. You're, as we mentioned earlier, away from all of your, you know, family and close loved ones. You don't get to choose what you eat. So, yes, the food's incredible. These chefs are some of the best in the world, but it can be quite difficult, especially if you have dietary restrictions like yourself, or
Yeah.
if you're very specific about your nutrition habits like myself,
Yeah.
or if you're prepping for something in particular, you'll face nutritional challenges. And then, of course, the fitness side of things, if you're not lucky enough to have one, a crew that is into that kind of lifestyle, two, a crew gym, which a lot of vessels do not have,
Yeah.
and then three, the time and the energy, because realistically, you're going to be working a lot. You're going to be exhausted. So the challenges I faced in the first couple of years was just really that lifestyle adjustment and learning how to maximize my energy and my potential. And it took me a very long time to learn when to stop and feed that energy back into myself so then I could be the best version of myself at my job and for my team.
Yeah.
It took a lot of a lot of stints of burnout and those hard times to really learn that. And I think I'm in a great position now. I know when I need to stop. I know the things that I need to do personally to kind of fill my cup. Um, and inside or outside of yachting, this is something that we learn as we get older, right? We learn to understand ourselves and what we need and what we need to do to put our best foot forward for those around us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard. And I think the sooner you can learn that when you join the industry, or, surround yourself with those people that are positive motivators in your life, the better. I wish it took me a bit sooner. I think it took about 2 years. My first 2 years of yachting, I would say, because God, yeah, I definitely I sent it. Hey, I was going hard.
Look, I think I can relate to your 2 years there because it took me about 2 years as well to
Yeah.
actually a bit longer, if I'm honest with you. It took me about 3 years. Like the first 3 years of my yachting industry or career, I'd say, was all about like you're experiencing these new places, these new
Of
things, these new
course.
people. It's like you're in a new country every week. My goodness,
Yep.
you're in a new city. Like you want to go out, you
Yep.
want to go taste this. But then quite quickly you realize that an Aperol Spritz tastes the same in Norway than it does in Italy.
Mhm.
So it's the same thing. And you're just honestly creating this detrimental, like downward spiral if you just stay on this block of drinking, hanging. But
Yeah.
you have to experience it. You have to get it, like go through it yourself first, like we've both done, and
Yes.
many other people in the industry have done. But then once, like you said, you kind of go through this phase where you, I would say, like you say, grow up and you understand yourself, what you need, and how you're actually going to progress. And if this is a career for you, how you're going to progress down the line with your responsibilities. And in all seriousness, how you're going to deal with yourself on a day where you're hanging, for example. You don't want to be like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I think taking that energy, and it's good to go and release some steam and have some fun. Don't get me
Of
wrong. Like
course.
don't not do it because we're saying it's bad for you. It's
Yeah. Nat
everything's bad for
Hennessy
you.
said that we can't go out
Yeah.
ever. We put in the books. We're not that boring. We do
No,
have fun from time to time.
exactly. But it's all about moderation when it comes to doing this, because if you think about it, like you said, if you take that energy from always partying and doing something, you put it into that fitness or into learning something new, just into something, a hobby for yourself, especially in the yachting industry, you can then help yourself progress and prolong your future in yachting because you keep your mental health sane. And the more that you drink and the more that you party, the more that your mental health will decline. You think in the moment you're having all this fun. Yes, you might be having fun and making memories and having these experiences, but the next day you're anxious as hell and you're feeling like shit. So it's okay to do that once in a while. Don't get me wrong. Life is
Yeah.
to be lived, but
It's
there's
like having
also,
FOMO, right? Like
yeah,
people get like the fear of missing out until you get to a certain age and it switches to JOMO. But also these when you're in the yachting industry, these things happen all the time. So every week someone will have a birthday, or
yep,
there will be like a going away party for someone
yep,
that's leaving, or there will be like a charter drop off day or boss on drop off day. There is something happening all the time. There will be a new cake,
yep,
in the crew mess. There's always these constant like temptations. So, once you learn to find your balance, like you said, and not be the yes man that has to say yes to everything because you feel like, you're not gonna make those memories. These things are going to happen like all the time.
Pretty much every
All the
day.
time.
Every day. Like, the chefs are so amazing on these boats that you're working on that I can tell you right now, and you can vouch for this, there will be a dessert in that crew mess every single day.
Yep.
So don't worry, you're gonna get your croissants and you're gonna get your cakes
Yep.
and cookies, but
Yep.
you got to think about, like, if you're living a real life, like, you're not in this industry, you're at home, would you
Yeah.
be having a cake and a cookie and a croissant every
Oh my
day?
God, Nat, I was having like 3 cinnamon scrolls at one stage. I had cinnamon scrolls on Sundays, every Sunday, these amazing cinnamon scrolls, and I would eat them like they were never coming back again. I'm like, what am I doing every single Sunday? They're gonna
Yeah.
be here.
So many people have reached out to me about how to eat on these boats. I don't know what to do. What do
Yeah.
you do? And I'm like, first of all, it's quite difficult for me. It's because I can't eat gluten. So all these desserts are very glutinous. I'm gonna
Yeah.
die if I have this. But I also I I I I think I changed my mindset to, I said in the previous podcast, from what foods are gonna fuel me and make me feel good and be
Yeah.
nutritious. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I have a chocolate like once in a while, but I don't crave it because I crave meals. I crave, you're gonna laugh at me, but at the moment my biggest craving is a protein shake with salted caramel flavoring, and it's probably the best thing on earth right now. It's all I want. But it's like
Yep.
I make it a
I
work
do
for
the same.
myself on these boats. So
Yeah.
when it comes to snacks and the food on the boats, this is one of the constant challenges you have.
But it's like nutrition's the hardest thing I think for most people on a fitness journey
Yeah.
on yachts, and
Yeah.
it's something that you have to work at every single day. It's not like you wake up one day and you're like, oh, all of a sudden I don't want any of this anymore.
No.
It's something you have to work on every day. But I promise you, the feeling of being proud of yourself for, saying no to something that you really didn't want deep down, far outweighs the feeling of like shame and guilt after you mindlessly consume something that you didn't actually
Yeah.
really want. So yeah, but it's a learning process.
It definitely is a learning process. But moving on to this, because talking about, you said that you are very specific with the foods you eat, and I know why, but the listeners might not know why. What are you training for, and why would you say this is important on the boat's back?
So I've been quite a unique yachty, I think. I don't actually know anyone else that's done this so far in the industry. Let me know if you do.
I don't, so this is very big for me. This is insane. I don't know how you do it, but anyway, carry on.
So I've done 2 bodybuilding competitions whilst being in yachting. So that's normally about a minimum of a 20-week prep leading up to comp, and that's tracking your calories and your macros specifically, weighing yourself every single day, checking in with a coach once a week, practicing posing, and then training normally 5 sessions a week, plus your cardio, and it gets more and more and more leading up closer to comp time. So it does become like a full-time job, and it is extremely challenging, but I actually found it weirdly convenient when I was on the boat. Once
Okay.
I got into a routine. However, of course, it was difficult to say no to a lot of things. And trust me, the looks that I got when I pulled out my set of scales, like in the crew mess,
Yep.
weigh food, was very strange. A lot of questions, but eventually it became the norm. Everyone knew what I was doing and they accepted it and supported me, to the point that if they saw me like in the naughty cupboard, then I had 50 other crew members holding me accountable. So if anything, it was quite helpful. But yeah, so I've done 2 bodybuilding competitions now. I'll be doing my 3rd in September this year, September 2026, season C. So yeah, that's been quite a unique experience.
That's incredible, Christy, because like we just spoke about, the challenges you face walking into the crew mess is everything and anything. And as humans, we naturally want to indulge. That's what humans do. I can't tell you how in awe I am of watching the progress and the process of you doing this. I watched you on I think it's your second bodybuilding competition. And I watched the process, and I don't know how you do it. You're exhausted. You're working these 14, 15, 16, 17-hour days because you go to work. You live, sleep, eat at work. You go to work, but then you get a phone call. You got to get up and carry on.
Yeah.
You crack on. When do you sleep? How do you manage that and your
You
hormones?
sleep really well, I'll tell you that much for free, because you're exhausted. And it's so easy to get your steps in, right? We're easily doing, like, my coach was looking at my check-ins being like, well, girl, 30,000 steps a day? Like, what do you mean? But I think this is why we highlight the importance of having a coach. Somebody
Yes.
that's looking out for you, because they can see from your check-ins and, all of the data that they look at when you need a break, when you
Yeah.
need, a refeed or some more carbs or whatever. And having to check in with someone every single Sunday in a bikini, sending photos in and having someone know my weight was a huge motivator to stay on track, because I didn't want to let them down. I'm also paying for this professional to
Yeah.
assist me. So I think that's one of the biggest things that we find from clients or yacht crew that are seeking advice or
Yeah.
support, is just having someone to hold them accountable, to
Yeah.
be like, hey, you haven't done that workout, or hey, your weight's fluctuating a bit, or your sleep's starting to fall
Yeah.
back a bit. What's going on? It's just that reminder to make you, think about what's going on and reflect a little bit more. So yeah, that really helps, having a coach. I definitely couldn't have done it just on my own.
I think having that coach also keeps you accountable. It also pushes you. So it's like, for example, when you're coaching me and I'm kind of like derailing off the track, sometimes it happens. You'll be like, listen, Nat, we got to like look about your priorities. And then we'll
Yeah.
have an honest conversation and we'll
Yep.
talk about it. And then I'll get right back on the bandwagon. Or I say, no, I need a couple of days. I need a week or
Yep.
so. I'm like, oh my goodness, my weight's picked up. What's happening? But then there's certain situations, hormones and
Yeah.
fluctuations. Or okay, Christy, I've hit my protein goal, but this is happening in my life and I can't do this right now, but I'm going to crack on and do that. I
Yeah.
definitely am more motivated with the coach.
And you're more aware as well. Like you understand it. You have someone to ask advice or just to bounce ideas off.
Okay, so coming up to the end of this episode with you and what we've learned about your incredible journey into yachting and your insane fitness lifestyle and
Yes.
journey from being a dancer to going to the gym to motivating and helping people to being a bodybuilder. I mean, I just have no words for it because it's incredible. I want to know, if you had to say you had a mentor within the yachting industry, who would you say your mentor is and why?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Like you said, for so many different reasons. But I think the one person that stands out to me is because they were there for me from the very, very first day where I first joined. And they've been a very inspirational person for me to follow. So her name is Rebecca Dakin.
Okay.
Also Sapphire, all these Sapphires in my life.
All these Sapphirs.
Yo, that's what you guys say. Um, so Rebecca Dakin, when I first joined, she was my lead house.
Yeah.
So she was my lead and I was one of the stewardesses. And then she quickly became my head of house on Flying Fox and I became her lead.
Yeah.
And then she became my interior manager on
No
Flying Fox and I
way.
became her head of house. So we kind of grew together.
Yeah.
And she taught me so much. She made it seem like it's possible, because my goal in the industry is to be an interior manager. I love people. I love helping people, motivating people, learning their strengths and weaknesses. So seeing someone come from for those that don't know, the interior structure, to come from a housekeeping perspective into interior manager role is much harder than coming from a service chief stew side into an interior manager role. So that was very inspirational for me. And very motivating. I've also seen one other do it. Her name's Sophie McKay, another incredible mentor. But if I had to choose one, it's going to be Rebecca Dakin
Shout out to all these people.
and you. So yeah, it's Rebecca Dakin for that. And yeah, I'm going to be back in South Africa in December for her wedding.
Oh my goodness. That's one of the best months to go to South Africa. So it looks like we're going to be all going to South Africa to see Christy and Rebecca Dakin.
We all need to go to South Africa end of November, start of December, because there's a very exciting Salt Lake event happening. And that's all we'll say for now. But
I like that.
yeah.
I'm definitely in for that. I don't know what it is, but I'm in. I'm there. What a little teaser. I love that.
Yeah, it's going to
Okay,
be
so
fun.
that kind of wraps up today's episode with Christy and our incredible co-founder of Salt Lake Fitness and incredible, inspirational woman coming into the yachting industry and to where she is now. And we hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and we are going to carry on with bringing on more people.
We'll see you on the next episode. And as we said before, let us know if there's anyone you want us to interview.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's a wrap on today's episode.
Stay salty, stay strong, and keep moving with purpose. See you next time.